We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this project is created, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We would also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Settle down and gather round for another tale. In the world of Nua, where time has carved and cultivated a magical utopia of wonder, a small group of adventurers unlock the deep mysteries of the land, its people, and themselves. Welcome to the Down Under Dungeon podcast. "22nd of summer, 5th year and 22nd day of service, 4 weeks out from the Sunset Trial election. The city's coffers have once again fallen into disarray. The sway of the company has rattled all investors and sunk their viciously funded teeth into all aspects of my city. Mining leases have remained low on the lands east of the gorge, where the richest europium ore is found. While yes, the riches of the company have trickled down into the streets, it is only enough for the poorest to realize just how bad life can be on the frontier, and how good it could be. And so the people turn to hope, which, if left unchecked, can be a dangerous and unruly force that leads to something far less desirable. And so I have continued to extend my hand to those whom operate in such spheres. The druids of stone and wildfire are tolerated and protected, yet I fear the stone druid's plasticity is finite. What between burrower raids making traversing the land difficult, and the ever-booming population expanding in the tent city. And of course, my continued blind eye to the proprietor of the septic speakeasy, stashing her extra water. It is a necessary sin, so long as she continues to provide her salves to the people. This new devotee of Persephone shows promise, I must say. Yellen has already commanded a respect in this tent city, and whispers of her character have reached even here in Hallowed Keep. That said, a few extra eyes must be spared on her. This religious emissary from Feldspar has already divined the machinations of those wretched Arcanites spluttering their madness. She would have a field day should the Nightingales be implicated. Not to mention the tax-avoiding Asimar, who has been loopholing my mandates in her convenient little demi-plane. Curse that Miranda and the influence that spawned her. So, here I sit amongst the spider's web, not knowing what thread once plucked will spell my doom. And now we have this most curious band of adventurers lurking about the city. Only a few days back did they blunder forth from the wastes and already have aroused suspicions and admirations. The Lady Louis of Hermitage, docent of the disposed, whom by all laws of humankind should have returned gracefully to the earth 3 decades ago, has sauntered in shepherding the most motley crew. Spies reporting a hulking, brutish furbolg with the disposition of a chocolate Labrador, a nervous, horned tiefling who is a suspected colleague of dear Sister Yellen, and a dazzling blue high fairy whom, of the lot of them, ironically seems the most reasonable and level-headed. Constantine has placed this crew in loose connections with the machinations of the Arcanites and the Old Henge, though I struggle to believe the woman whom read me stories as a child has decided in her advanced retirement to try radical cult worship. Whatever the occurrence, the Arcanites are now diminished in the city. Just one more chore I've crossed off my list. And should Louis see these oddballs through the canyon, I trust she would make good on helping me with my other chore, hopefully before the election. Yours, Jarl Sigurd Scruff.
During a game the other day, my sister was over with my niece, who's 5 months old now, and I was like, wait, bring her to me. And then I just gave her a D20, and I'm like,
swallowed it immediately.
She rolled like a 6, and I'm like, I don't know what this says about your future, but it's not.
But it's not great.
It's not what your first ever dice roll. I know, I was like,
Anyway, so Jeremy has passed a dice curse onto his niece.
Yeah.
Yeah, this poor child is cursed.
Yeah, but it's only cursed because you used my dice tray last time.
Oh no, I was
Now
expecting.
you've like
Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
traveling from you, Amber.
No.
You're a super spreader.
the super spreader of the dice curse. Oh no!
If you listen to this podcast for too long, you will also be a
No.
You can't be infected if you're on the other side of the microphone, guys. Don't worry
Well,
about
there's only one way to test that. You have to keep listening.
Hey.
Someone report back. Give us a scientific report on the actual dice statistics. that got hand in
Okay.
hand.
All right, children, simmer down.
Never.
Welcome back, listeners, from our last session where we took a deeper dive into our characters in the city of Lal Udrud, making last stops and preparations for their expedition into the Sidewinder Canyon alongside the decorated Professor Caressa and her assistant, Holly.
Fucking Holly.
God damn it.
So, we will kick off in the early morning in Lal Udrud. Well before the sun has kissed the horizon, and you see, as you push open the tent, the deep plum hues of the early morning. As you all begin to start to prepare and pack the cart, Qwig, the professor, pulls you aside. Her eyes are wide, and she slips into your pocket the crystal that you gave her a couple of days ago. She leans in, not just to be kind of...
Is she making a move?
I know.
Did you just bro hate?
What's up?
He turned into nerd to jock.
Wig's a player.
She goes, hello. So I've done some rudimentary tests, and I couldn't find anything at first, and I was very curious, especially about these engravings on the side. You see, they're irregular, and it's almost like a language or something like that. But I tried everything, and nothing seemed to work until I did the same dating technique as the pottery that was first bought, and this crystal dates almost around the same time. Now, I don't know a lot, but it seems to me that this is some kind of powerful magical component or even focus, so I'll leave it with you for the moment, but would you allow Holly to take a look at it, perhaps? This is far more in her wheelhouse. I'm sure she would be, more than happy to take a look at it for you.
Qwig holds tightly to the relic in his pocket. Maybe I'll get around to asking her at some point. We'll focus on what we're doing for now, but I did want to ask her about her paper.
I'm sure she'd be glad to hear it, but of course, the expedition. And you see she brushes past you and heads down. Can everyone give me a perception check in the early morning light here?
Oh, sure thing. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Qwig got a 13.
Louis got a 19.
Feng got an 11.
Lysandra got a 9.
9. So I think Lysandra and Feng, you two are helping each other to hitch Cecilia to this tiny cart. It's don't think like a big wagon. This is to go on like narrow, rocky terrain, and the benefit of being pulled by a mantelope is that Cecilia doesn't really have to worry too much about it. But you continue to hitch her to the front of the cart, but Louis and Qwig, you see two figures appearing in the morning gloom. The first one is of Irene, the farmer's daughter, and the second appears to be a deputy from the commandant's office.
Ooh.
It's a sharp-looking young man wearing an administrator's badge and wears a long navy cloak. The professor sees Irene and her face smiles, and she beckons them forward. Good morning, you two. I'm so glad you've agreed to do this. And you see Irene looks, her ears are twitching a little bit, and you see she's looking nervously up at the deputy next to her, and she goes, "Oh, yes, Professor, you know me. Any excuse to get out of the farm, even for a couple of days. And look, I take the stock at my uncle's shop, and, this is pretty much the same thing." And goes, "Irene, I'm sure you will be
fine. And this young man here, what is his name? And you see Irene starts to blush, and she looks down at her feet and says, Ganymede, I think it was. And you see this stoic young gentleman nods curtly at the professor, and the two begin to address you all.
Address what to us?
Yeah.
Oh, like, good morning.
Oh.
Sorry, it sounded like you were going to say more words.
Yeah.
No. Do you not want to talk to... we're over, Irene.
Sorry, can you make that more clear? Are they coming with us?
No, you see the professor turns around and says to you guys, well, while we're away, I need someone to mind the shop. And Irene here has agreed to do that for me while we're away for the expedition.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good idea. It's a long time to leave all these books unattended.
it really is. Good on you, Irene. That's a really strong initiative you've got going there.
Yes. You see Irene kind of blushes again and, again, avoids the eye contact with the deputy at all costs. And the professor continues and says, well, yes, under my diplomatic arrangement with the Jarl, he has thought fit to have the outpost guarded in my absence. So hopefully everything will be safe. I mean, we haven't had much trouble here, so... you see at this point, Holly appears from the tent. You see her normal academic robes have been replaced by a very functional leather tunic. She's got a head wrap on, and she regards you all with casual indifference and walks to the back of the cart with the professor and helps her up into the back of it. And you all stand ready to go as Irene and her new deputy bodyguard mosey on into the tent.
Can I make, just as we're leaving, a quick insight check on exactly what Irene is feeling, whether she's like nervous because she's being watched or nervous because she likes the guy?
Yeah, I was also very curious about that.
Yeah, make an insight check.
Ganymede.
Oh, that's a 19 plus 5, so 24.
24. I think you know what's happening here. This is a young girl who's been given a lick of freedom and responsibility, and in return has been gifted a young hunky man.
I think I just wink at her as we leave.
Oh my god.
That secret little grandma wink, just like,
Oh my god.
You've given her bardic inspiration.
I'd give her
Persuasion check in the next 10 minutes.
Louis, with your bardic inspiration, you see you reduce her to an elderly chihuahua. She's shaking that much. Just so much nervous energy in such a tiny, tiny body.
Good on her.
Sweetheart.
Good on her.
She's got this.
She's got this.
She's got time.
True, she's got a whole month.
Yeah, I think we're gone for a month, aren't we?
Yeah, the bardic lasts 10 minutes, but...
Yeah.
So how are you proceeding in your convoy?
How is the convoy set up?
Yeah.
That's up to you guys. Who's in the front?
So we've got just one, caravan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's more of a, don't think of it like a caravan, think of it more like a buggy, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
It's carrying most of your rations as well as some of the professor's inventory, critical stuff, her maps, archaeological documents and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And so the professor is up on the...
Yeah, she's just sitting on the back, yeah.
Cool.
And so how many people can the caravan thing hold?
2 at a time.
Okay, so I'm guessing for the first bit, Holly and the professor will be travelling in that?
Oh, Holly has made herself perfectly comfortable.
Right.
I feel like Lysandra would probably take the front up near Cecilia, keep an eye on what's ahead, with someone else who can also help her watch what's going on.
Yeah, I think Feng will probably join Lysandra up there. I think at the start of every day, Feng is absolutely taking the time to ritual cast Speak with Animals. It lasts 10 minutes and he's just giving Cecilia a bit of a pep talk every morning, getting her ready for a day's worth of travel.
And what does that pep talk sound like per chance?
He probably, as the sun's rising, sits opposite Cecilia, cross-legged, meditating in the morning sun, and once the spell takes effect, he turns to Cecilia and goes, "Hey there, Cecilia, today's going to be a tough day, so you just have to keep going, and no matter what we come across, just signal out to us if you need some help, and we'll come and help you, but no matter what, you have to keep traveling, and even if you get tired, I know that's a lot to ask, but can you just keep traveling, yeah?"
We're a family here on this caravan. We're all gonna pull our weight.
We really need to get this journey done so that we can find Merle and hopefully stop the world and, not be harbingers of doom. We just have to kind of get on with it,
You see Cecilia looks back at you with a blank stare. One eye blinks after the other.
I love that.
Do I have any snacks I can feed her? Surely.
Yeah, I mean, the buggy is also containing feed for Cecilia as well. You see at the front of the wagon, though, there is a little feed bag that just dangles off the front, so you can periodically just pull some hay from it and feed her as you take off through the city. So you're not into the wilds proper. Your convoy takes off back through the city and into the gorge. Waving your goodbyes to Irene, Cecilia begins to pull to the side at her calls. You steel yourselves for your expedition deep into Sidewinder Canyon. It's still early in the morning, and the cartwheels and footsteps pick up the undulating fog rising from the last lagoon. The balconies and facades of the ancient city are empty save for the occasional rustle of a bird, bark of a dog, or sound of a brazier being emptied into the culverts of the street. The last few fireflies dance over the water as you fill your water pouches for the journey. Going beyond, you travel down the narrow road. Eventually, after a few hours, you emerge, Qwig and Feng, at a familiar sight, the Circle of Stone.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we have to pass through here.
Yeah.
Qwig is going to cast Disguise Self as we approach the stone circle.
Okay, and who are you disguising yourself as?
I think he will just disguise himself as Ganymede because it's the last person he saw that's not here.
Okay. Okay.
But just look kind of chill and relaxed as Qwig always does. Oh, so relaxed. I am here as the deputy of I guess you just look over and see him.
Obviously you were all filled in on what happened at the Circle of Stone, but Holly isn't, and peers around the side of the buggy at Ganymede and raises a quizzical eyebrow at Feng.
Wait, why are you looking at me? What did I do?
I thought we left him back at the tent.
Oh, we're just playing around with some tricks. We're practicing our disguising skills.
Yeah, could come in useful.
She's going to make an insight check against Qwig.
I did not disguise my voice at all. No. Yeah.
So just roll me a deception check.
Gotcha. Nat 20.
Nice.
You see Holly's eyes furrow, and she slowly retracts and returns to the back of the cart. As you approach, you see Salmon is the only druid in the circle this early in the morning. He was the one that did your concretion chart.
Yeah.
And you see he's kind of muttering to himself with what appears to be a charcoal pen and a wooden slate. And he's walking around the circle. You can try and make your way through the circle, but unless you want to go and approach and talk to him, you can.
I think Louis is seeing someone frustrated, I guess, and curious about what happened with these two the other night would go up and be like, hi, good morning, everything okay?
You see this Earth Genasi turns to you, Louis, and says, good morning, well met. I'm sorry, you missed the concretion chart reading. The stars are already out for the day.
That's okay. You just look a little flustered. Is everything all right?
You see he kind of casts an eye to you and to the party as seeing Feng walk past, and you see his eyes narrow a little bit at the sight of Feng's wildfireness, and looks back to you and said, well, we've had a few developments in the circle that are rather interesting, shall we say. Do you see all these cracked moonstones around? And you see he indicates to these almost dull glass-like stones arranged intricately in this rock garden. And you see that there are these vibrant orange cracks that are running through it like veins.
Oh, that looks interesting.
You see he shows you the tablet that he's been working on and says, I'm trying to observe this, see if there's any kind of pattern to this cracking of the moonstone. I don't know yet, but I will get to the bottom of it.
Well, that sounds like certainly a project. I wish you luck.
Yes, and
Is there anything we can do to help before we go?
do you have any understanding of the deep mysteries of magic?
Not asking for much.
In some ways, I guess. I don't know if how I know things would apply here, but
Yes, I suppose I'm asking for too much, and you're heading into the canyon, yes?
yeah, we're heading that way.
Well, watch yourself out there, especially a woman of your age, if you don't mind me saying.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Bandits frequent the canyon. The burrowers are not kind to those who do not know their way.
Thank you for the warning. We will absolutely keep our eyes peeled left and right.
Okay. And you see he takes one last look at the convoy. He lingers his eyes over the professor and bids you good morning as you continue through the circle.
So, cracked stones. I know everything that happened last night. That's a lot more dramatic than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of tried to block it out of my memory, so I think we should just try and move past.
It actually looked a lot worse at the time. They've
Yeah,
done a
totally
good job
agree.
repairing that.
Yeah, they kind of turned it into this like artistic project and are taking it as a message from the planets above. So, you know, if that's what they want to do with it, maybe it was what they needed to reinvigorate their circle.
Exactly.
I think I gave them a gift.
I put a hand up, reach up Feng's arm. That you did, bud. That you did.
Thanks, Qwig.
I take a long, cutting look at Lysandra, roll my eyes, and just be like, well, let's just keep going, shall we?
Yes, let's.
I mean, look, Feng just got the most devastating prophecy, so I feel like I've got to bounce back from this somehow.
Yeah.
So this is just what he's telling himself now.
It's destiny.
Exactly. Everything is destiny.
Lily pats Feng on the shoulder, like, okay, let's go.
This is my shoulder. Go to the other side.
Don't
We're just
worry,
like either side of him.
I've got 2 shoulders, enough for both of you.
We're both panning.
Once the circle of stone is behind the convoy, all signs of the city begin to dissipate, and the ambient noise begins to lessen, focusing the sounds of your feet and cart as you descend the small trail at the back of Udrud Gorge. Truly, you begin to feel the sensation of traversing the wild. Now, as we move forward, each of you will have to pick a role. So these will be familiar from your initial bout in the Badlands, but as the party has increased this time in number, we have some additional roles. So as always, we have the Navigator. A Navigator identifies which path is best to take and guides the party to their destination or quarry. The Navigator will make the daily survival checks needed to ascertain the correct direction and difficulty of the terrain of the party. The Navigator must also take charge in recording the number of days passed and the number of rations spent. The second role is of the Scout. A Scout keeps an eye out for nearby threats, unusual activity, or areas of immediate interest. Scouts will make perception checks for the parties to detect creatures and nearby danger, or they can make investigation checks for items, resources to help the party. Failed checks may lead to surprise attacks, missed opportunities, or depleted rations. The Scout will also roll the stealth check for party encampments. We then have the Defender. The Defender remains alert to danger and keeps guard over the party. When the party encounters danger, the Defender can make an initiative or athletics check to save another member from an attack, or take another action to react to the threat in order to mitigate the damage. Failing checks could result in success at the cost of damage or leaving other party members vulnerable. The Defender will draw the ire of any hostile encounters as the most significant threat in the party. We then have our 2 new roles. The Sage. The Sage must choose a specific task to focus on that day. The Sage must remain motionless in order to complete this task. If the Sage is undisturbed, it can make either an intelligence check, or wisdom check to research or heal one condition. So it's basically a free cast of the Identify spell or Lesser Restoration. We then have the Motivator. 3 times per day, the Motivator may expel a subclass feature or feat, so Bardic, Wild Shape, or a 2nd level spell slot, to add 1d6 to the outcome of a roll, as long as they are proficient in that check. The Motivator may continue assisting past 3 times per day, but they will suffer a level of exhaustion for every subsequent use of this feature. For
For the party members not assigned to a role, they may give the help action to one check made by either the navigator, scout, or defender. Roles may be switched at the end of the day. Each day, the group survival check will be rolled to determine encounters or setbacks. Setbacks will diminish how far the party can move within a day. Encounters will occur daily on successful checks. A failed check may result in another encounter and active rolls against camp passive perceptions. Does that make sense for everyone?
Sure does.
Sounds good.
Alright, which roles would you guys like to pick?
I think Feng would probably be the navigator. That's
Yeah.
the survival check, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Louis would probably take motivator.
Okay.
Seems built for her.
I think Qwig would go scout to start, and then maybe when we feel like things are getting a bit more interesting, he'd switch to sage.
Okay.
Because he would love to be able to use identify if it's something, if we find anything.
Yeah, great idea.
Sounds good. And Lysandra will take defender.
Awesome.
The professor is happy to take the sage for the day, considering she'll be riding in the cart anyway. So just make sure throughout the day, if you want her to make an intelligence or wisdom check, make sure you let me know. Okay, so now we've got the mechanics out of the way. Let's begin. Week 1, day 1. Canyon cliffs.
Oh my god, terrifying.
It's like a cold open.
I know.
Big hard title.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's cinematic.
Big one shot.
Yeah.
Tarantino letters.
Yeah, that's a boom, boom.
In the blistering heat of high summer, the cool embrace of Udrud Gorge shields you for the first morning, but by midday the vertical walls give way to the blinding vista of Sidewinder Canyon before you. As far as your eyes can see, a vast, jagged canyon sprawls out before you, carving its way south and jutting off into countless smaller gorges and chasms. The sedimentary rock here bears witness to the history of Nua, each layer representing a snapshot of time immemorial, withered away only by the will of wind and water. Okay, up first, Motivator. Will you use your ability for the first roll of the day?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna hold off on it, just see where we end up going, and we'll go from there.
Alright, sweet. So not today, that's great. Just let us know when you want to intervene. That'll be on you, Louis.
No worries.
Feng, survival roll.
Alright, let's do it. Oh, that's a nat 1.
This is gonna go
We
so...
missed the canyon.
What a great start.
This is gonna go so well.
PPK.
Okay, Navigator, can you roll me a d4, please?
4.
Feng, roll a 4. Okay. And I'm going to need you to roll another d4 because you failed the survival check.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Okay, well,
Another 4.
Okay, sweet. Can you re-roll that?
Sure.
What?
2.
Okay.
what's he
wonderful.
doing?
What is
I'm
What's our
scared.
GM doing?
what is the maths happening behind the screen?
Too many dice.
Too many dice.
Way too many.
You continue down this small goat track. You see, even though Cecilia is suspended through her innate magical power, you see that it is still rather hard on her body, and she has to kind of move slowly so that the cart doesn't tip over as you begin to descend down. Feng, you've spent some time in Laluldrud now, you've spent some time in the wastelands, and this place still feels like walking into some place alien in terms of how still everything is, but also how vast everything is. It is such a tapestry of contradiction that it really is making it hard for you to traverse, and you almost kind of start to question your capacity as a druid in this moment.
Yeah, Feng just turns to the party and says, I don't really like the stillness because it kind of haunts me and it makes you seem like there's something bad going on because you can't see it, you know?
Like that, says the professor, and as she points up into the sky, and you see silhouetted against the blue these massive black shadows.
What?
What?
And the professor begins to explain, well, yes, along with the canyon lions, the vultures of Laluldrud ensure that most of this area remains free of carrion and decay. Indeed, the stone druids that we just met, they used to worship the vulture as a deity, a vessel or conduit between worlds. Scout, can you make a perception check for us
Will do.
as you try and spy these vultures?
Qwig rolled a 12.
12. With a 12, you can't make out many distinguishing features. You still see the midnight black wings and almost these like bald heads with bright magenta wattles. But with a 12, the thing that really sticks out to you is their huge talons, which even from your small stature so far down on the ground, it can even be made out in their silhouette against the sky.
I turned to Professor Cressus. So, keeping it free of carrion, are they following us, thinking we might become carrion?
Well, I mean, mostly it's carrion, and as long as there aren't any, small, defenseless creatures that they spy.
I look down at my hands. My body. My small, defenseless body.
Look, I'm sure that you'll be fine.
What if they're after Premi or Cecilia?
I don't think they're carrying away Cecilia.
You see, Cecilia's just sucking on Feng's hand.
I'm going to cast Mage Armor on myself in this moment.
Yeah, fair.
My little displacement.
Yeah, they're flying now. That's what's happening.
Just looking up at them. No, I think today's the day for this.
Was my nut one that bad?
It's scary.
The DM is grinning. I'm scared.
Given that bad survival check, you do move at half pace today and therefore consume double the rations for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
And as the sun begins to crest from midday to late afternoon, you start to see familiar sights of mining activity. Scout, can we get another perception or investigation? It's up to you.
Good, I'll do an investigation.
Add a d6.
Thank you.
Okay, so our motivator's using her d6.
Add the d6. That's an 18.
18 investigation check.
Thank you.
What does Louis say as motivation?
I lead in. Let's see. There appears to be mining operation in the distance. Not sure if it's active or not.
Well, considering the encounters we've had with people who like to do mining and what they dragged out of a cave last time, maybe we should just keep eyes focused on that.
All right, I'll look.
Okay, with that 18, the first thing you notice are vast holes that are starting to be bored into the side of the canyon itself. They've strewn waste and debris down across the path in front of you. You have to kind of clamber over it. You also see rusting mine tracks jutting out like the legs of a vast, peculiar insect from the side of the canyon. And it almost is trailing streaks of brown iron rust on the earth and stone.
Gross, don't cut yourself.
Tetanus Central.
Yeah.
This is obviously a place that has been long since exploited. And with that investigation check, Qwig, you cast your eyes down one of these and you see a rusted great machine of some sort. And there's with that check as well, I'll say you also notice that it's obviously some kind of boring device, and it has a strange maker's mark on the bottom.
Can we pause for a moment? I lean over to get a closer look at it.
As you start to walk in and to examine this machine, you see Cecilia starts to buck and complain.
Just a moment.
What languages do you speak?
I speak Common, Elvish, and Sylvan.
The script seems familiar, but you can't understand the language.
I'm going to try and write it down as... I'll just mimic the writing as much as I can into my notes, and then try and decipher it later, maybe. I have my scholar's tools.
Yeah, okay.
I have stuff to do.
I was going to say, you take out a small charcoal pen and kind of do a rubbing of the maker's mark on this machine.
So you see me pull out my book and go...
What you doing over there, Qwig?
Give me a moment, just a moment.
Yeah, Fega's just trying to keep Cecilia happy.
Okay, that is, once you see Qwig takes the rubbing, the last of the light, because you are starting to move down into a canyon, the hours of light are actually lessened, or direct sunlight. So even though it's not that late in the day, things are starting to get dark quickly, and you pull off to the side of the track and start to make camp. You see the professor removes a very plush, thick carpet from the back of the cart and begins to make a makeshift place for her and Holly to sleep for the night. What are you all doing to prepare?
Lysandra, I think, has been pretty silent throughout today, is very much I think pensive is the word in her thoughts. As the sun disappears, Lysandra's looking at her shadow, seeing if it disappears with the sun disappearing, and is sort of just taking in the surroundings. And then we'll turn to Qwig. Qwig, do you know much about how shadows work?
Well, of course. I spent much of my research on light mechanics. So, a shadow is simply an absence of light in the simplest sense.
Well, I guess so, but what if the shadow does something that you don't do? How does that work?
Qwig kind of looks off into space a bit. He's like, well, I'm sure there could be plenty of scientific explanations for such a phenomenon. But of course, there are plenty of ways to bend shadow. That's what I'm doing most of the time when I'm using illusion magic. You bend light, remove light from some places, and of course, there's a probability of light being in any one location at any given time until it's observed. But of course, you can manipulate observation itself. So, what are you getting at? Why are you asking about shadows?
Make an insight check for me, Lysandra.
Yeah. A 13.
13. With a 13, you kind of let Qwig's words wash over you a little bit. The things that stick out to you the most are this notion of light being only existing when it is observed. And you remember back to the tent in which the shadow only started moving on its own accord when you started to lose control, or when your emotional state was heightened, when Yellen was chastising you. And so it becomes clear to you now that your emotion and mood and desire and the way you observe things might have something to do with this shadow.
I guess something happened, Qwig, when I was visiting Sister Yellen.
Oh.
My shadow, I lost control of it, and I don't quite understand why, but I mean, she was rude and made me feel upset, and I don't know if that has something to do with it.
Where I'm from, a lot of natural phenomena, like light, can be affected greatly by emotions. I don't know if I can help you too much in that regard, but I will look into it. But so you lost control of your shadow, so it just started moving on its own without you moving?
Well, yes, and it might have broken some sort of ritualistic bowl that she was using.
Now, Qwig, to you, a shadow actually interacting with something is different.
Yeah.
Because your illusions are pretty incorporeal.
Yeah. A shadow interacted physically with the object?
Yes. I didn't do anything, but the bowl was knocked off its perch and cracked in two, and then I was yelled at and told to leave.
So another ritual, I guess ritualistic object that we've interacted with, and it's... But the shadow, I can't even think of what it would take for a shadow without deliberate magical energy put into it being able to physically interact with the world. I will look into this. I'll get back to you. I will do some tests. I just hold up my wand with the light cantrip on it and just to the shadow and see if it interacts normally with the light.
Ooh. Make whatever kind of check you want to make.
Can I do an Arcana check?
Yes.
You look so excited about that.
Oh, yeah. That is a 22.
Ooh. I will now need you both to make a stealth check if you are trying to keep this to yourselves.
7.
7.
We are so bad at stealthing as a party.
Well kept.
Lysandra, in this moment, as you're shining like your wand, is just looking down at her feet, trying to see what this shadow is doing.
Are you dancing around trying to make a move?
I don't even think Lysandra's dancing around. I think she's just full on looking at her feet, lifting her legs, just seeing what's happening.
With that check, Qwig, you're trying to look at this situation and try and deconstruct it magically. Like you're looking at the light that your wand is producing, looking at those waves, looking how they're interacting, how they're shining off her armor, and you look towards Lysandra's shadow and it appears just to be a normal shadow. And just when you think you see something move, you hear Holly's voice next to you saying, "What are you doing?"
We were looking around for firewood. Yep, right here. Right next to the caravan. That's what we're doing. I'm looking at the ground.
Yes.
Real close.
Sidewinder Canyon is renowned for its timber and trees.
Yeah, maybe I'll just ask Feng about that. He's pretty good with fire.
You look over and Feng is like poking little pieces of food in through the lantern at Bromy.
Yeah, he set it up in a communal spot, so it's almost like a campfire kind of situation.
Oh, okay, Lysandra, it looks like we don't need to find the firewood after all.
We don't need to.
That's crazy. Okay, yeah, sorry. Hey, Feng.
Oh, quick, you were trying to find firewood. Why? I got...
That's right. I forgot.
Oh, that's so silly. Normally you're so smart.
You see...
He's like, what the fuck?
You see Holly turns to you all and says, well, I mean... I don't know what's happening, to be very fairly honest. Professor! And you said she calls out Lady Louis, and the professor turn from around the side of the caravan with the rations for dinner. As you sit around Promy, Feng, are you just having normal communal fire? You're not setting it to anything?
No stealthing or anything. I think we've just set up a communal spot.
You see the professor starts to regale you on tales of her travel, and the subjects soon switch to Lal Druid. She explains to you how prior to the European boom, the price of extracting minerals from here was costly for the amount of profit gained. Therefore, sporadic mining ventures popped up, bringing all sorts of minerals from zinc, iron, and even lead to the occasional mithril vein being exploited by dwarven prospectors from time to time. Is there anything you want to ask for the professor for today?
So, in terms of these ventures, Qwig earlier found a mark on some kind of mining machine. Qwig, do you have the rubbing of that still?
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
You hand over the rubbing to the professor. She looks at it and squints her eyes. She beckons Feng to hold Promy up the lantern a bit closer so she can get a good look at it. And you see the professor says nothing, but you hear Holly clear her voice. She says, "Oh, that's a maker's mark, a gnomish maker's mark, to be precise."
Louis speaks Gnomish.
Oh, you speak gnomish?
I speak Gnomish.
Okay, sweet. You didn't have a look at it though?
Probably not until this moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I may have just said, oh, it's something, a mark, I'll figure it out later at that time.
Yes, she says, yes, that is a gnomish maker's mark, a tinkerer's mark, if you will. Probably from an import, say, from Cape Rin.
So gnomes from Cape Rin are making the mining machines, potentially? At least that one.
I guess so. Would I be able to have a look? I might be able to see what it says properly.
You look at it, it is just the name of a last name, essentially, a stamp in a maker's mark. And the professor goes on to explain how after the Great Schism, Cape Rin really became a haven for the smaller folk of Nua, especially goblins, gnomes, and halflings, and how that their seclusion in the Southern Isles really revolutionized their arcana tech and tinkering capacity. And so now Cape Rin has kind of always been the cutting edge of technology in Nua. And so it makes sense to you that they would specialize in these mineral resources.
And I remember someone told us that Cape Rin was interested in Europia.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that they're probably also paying for the machines that excavated in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess we also have to figure out if Cape Rin was involved in making Feldspar no longer interested in Europium. I wonder if that's a thing.
It's definitely something Qwig's been thinking about, is how much is getting sent where and who is controlling that. It definitely seems like the arcanotech use of Europium is coming out of Cape Rin, so that's where a lot of the experimentation is being done.
Okay, so after discerning the rubbing, you all fall asleep. Now, because of your bad survival check,
Oh, you remember that?
I will need the scout to roll a stealth check for the encampment for tonight.
I'm the scout. Yes.
Who's the scout?
I'm the scout. I'm the scout.
No, Jeremy, who's the scout?
I'm the scout. I know. I know. You're hyping me up to roll this check. I know. So that's another 7 for stealth. It's like the dice have plans.
Can we get above a 10 at least one time today?
Please.
I did on my Arcana check.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Thank you.
What did we get?
You're doing great, sweetie.
Sorry.
What did we get?
7.
Okay, no worries.
I
Okay.
feel like it's many worries, actually.
Day 2.
Oh, okay. So we're
Okay.
going to
You... It's alright, they're rolling with disadvantage at the start.
They.
It.
Day 2, unless anyone wants to jump in, Navigator, can we get our survival check for the day?
Yeah, sounds good.
I think seeing how disastrously that one went, Louis is going to give you the bardic on that
Thank
one.
you very much.
Fair call.
That survival becomes a 19.
19.
Nice.
So we pass. You all only consume 1 round of rations for the day, and we just need 1 encounter check for your daily encounter.
Was that a D4, sorry?
That's a D4.
4.
Okay, well, it's a D2 now. Okay. While the signs of life have certainly dwindled since leaving Lala Druid, you do see in the second day that there are small encampments of prospectors that have been set up in the canyon. Vagabonds, mountain men, hunters, trappers, mostly keeping to themselves. One such group you encounter along the winding road have cleared a small outcropping on the slope of the canyon. A convent of perfumers have established a grove of slate palms, tending to them from small huts of stacked stone. As you pass, a group of perfumers beckon you, selling sweet date tarts in the hopes of also selling expensive perfumes. One of the sisters introduces herself as Ariana. Well met, travellers. Bright and early, I see.
I think Louis will kind of step up and approach, seeing this kind of community of people coming together to make something like this is a very sort of homely feeling. So she'll step up and respond, well met, good morning. How's things this morning?
Well, as always, we are blessed with good weather in the canyon. Rain is bad for the dates, so that's why we come here. This is just a small grove. Would you be interested in buying some tarts?
Yeah, I won't say no.
You hand over some copper, and you all get given this beautifully hand-wrapped date tart. It's a small leaven pastry with like a mince of dates and spices that's packed on the top. And you see Ariana speaks to you and says, this should be good for at least a month. In a dire situation, if you might need a bit of a pick-me-up, make sure you take one of these and take our good blessings with you as you go.
Thank you. This looks delicious.
You also see that there are a few vials of black liquid in perfume bottles, small ampules, and they're for 50 gold each.
May I ask what the perfume vials are, just out of curiosity?
Well, these are a byproduct of the date palms, and it's very lucrative. We sell exclusively to the high elves of Bientiorum, high in the mountains of the Spine.
That sounds really fancy. Is it any kind of properties, or is it just a scent?
It is only a humble work that we do here. We have no magic to speak of, but any donation to the convent will be, well needed.
The convent?
Yes, our little convent here of perfumers. We seek solace here in the canyon. As you can see, the stillness is quite embracing, don't you think?
It is quite lovely, for some.
Yes, well, money buys everything. Even protection, as you do know, along these trails, and the last thing we'd want is for our date palms to be
hassled by any unwilling people, if you know what I mean. The unsavory sort.
The bandits and such. Yeah, well, I mean, we're kind of dealing with that a little bit ourselves on this journey, so...
You have vanquished the bandits before?
Have we?
No, I don't think we have.
No.
Mine are running on our way, not through the canyon though. On
There
our
you go.
way to Lalodru.
Thrown off the balcony.
You could say.
Yes, Qwig did get thrown off the balcony.
Flashbacks.
Oh, 1,000 yards.
Oh yeah, we crawled through sewers.
No, we don't need to relive.
We're standing near perfumers and we're thinking about the sewers and it just gets more tempting.
It's just
All our faces just drain.
this place where she said it's not magical, my brain. This is Jeremy. It's just like so essential oils MLM. So they're like, you know, of course there are properties. Just not magical.
many parabens. You decline the perfumers and continue on your day. It is uneventful. You have passed your survival check. So for that night, as you start to make further and further down into the canyon, the sunlit hours become less and less. What do you do on night 2?
I think we probably have the same setup every night unless the actual environment starts to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked to Caressa about the weird necromancy stuff a little bit, haven't we?
I've asked her about chronomancy. I did not talk to her about necromancy.
Okay. I think I want to gather the group then and ask, so are we going to try and get some information out of these guys about what's going on, or do we not trust where some might be coming from in terms of finding information?
Professor Caressa seems pretty trustworthy, but magic's really not her expertise.
True.
She said that she says that the Four Eyes does have information about stronger and lesser known magics like chronomancy. I was asking her, but she doesn't have any of that with her here.
Okay. Well.
But I'm saying you could probably trust her, but you have to be tactful to avoid Holly.
Yeah. What do we think is Holly's deal? I know you said that there was some things with her signature on them that shouldn't have been. Do we avoid her? Do we try to befriend her?
I think that she is perhaps quite knowledgeable. She's not friendly. So whether or not I trust her, I think we have to figure out whether or not it's worth trusting her.
Lysandra butts in. Do you think she knows much about the arcane?
Oh, definitely. Her entry into the Four Eyes was done with a thesis on arcanodynamics and arcane synthesis.
Those are fancy words. Please explain.
Talking about the extraction of magical potential from objects. I do want to read that paper.
Call back to episode 1. Feng gets a nosebleed.
Well, I mean, you're the education type.
I'm the education guy. Feng's the fire guy. What kind of guy are you guys?
I'm the music guy.
I'm the buff guy.
Sword guy. We love a sword guy.
Sword guy.
You're wrapped up in all that academia. Would it be a conversation you'd maybe want to have? Maybe have early so you can establish a rapport?
I think that might be a good idea. I was having a bit of fun pissing her off, though, so I guess I'll work on that.
Yeah, Feng will just remind everyone, don't forget we're traveling with Holly for about a month, so we kind of have to stay on her good side.
As much fun as it is to have petty, childish banter, it's probably best to get on, especially if we're going to be in company for a long time.
That's most of academia.
Yeah, trust me, I love some pity drama. I'm all about the pity drama. I totally believe in it, but we got to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and we are not. We are not.
Surely if she knows a lot about arcane, we could talk to her about whatever happened at midnight the other night. Surely she might know something.
Maybe I'll start with the building report. I'll ask her about her research.
I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good.
And maybe we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Qwig, you walk up to Holly and ask her a question.
Hey, Holly.
Hey.
Yeah, I immediately, as soon as she says hey like that, immediately like my hackles are up, like I want to say something snarky, and I'm trying really hard to be nice. So the professor told me about your thesis for entrance into the Four Eyes.
Yes.
You know, I know we haven't gotten off on the right foot, but I would like to say that sounds very interesting. I had no idea that you had knowledge of the arcane.
Is it common for you to expect women not to have knowledge of such things?
My gosh.
Backhanded.
Actually, I would like to say I'm actually an apprentice of a very powerful evocation school wizard, Alandria. She is a woman, and she is incredibly knowledgeable.
Oh.
I've learned a great deal from her.
Yes, so you have female friends, so you can have gendered opinions then. That's how it works.
I don't think I was bringing gender into it. My apologies for coming across that way. I didn't intend that at all.
You see Holly smiles and punches you in the shoulder, and it's like, you're such a dork.
I get. Yes, I am. Yeah,
Stop talking.
Qwig freezes up.
Yeah.
His wings are down.
I'm here for the slow burn. I'm sorry.
I just stopped talking. I listened to her.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have any questions, what do you have about my dissertation?
Well, I first of all, I would love to read it, but I'm very curious in the conclusions you came to about the extraction of magical energy from seemingly mundane objects.
Make an insight check.
Can I be
Can
robotic?
read? No, I got an 18.
18.
Yeah.
Even with an 18, I will say there might be a reason why she's dancing around the topic of not sharing the information with you. Yeah? She's trying to get you off-footed and not talk about
Done.
this.
Oh, shit.
Well, it was only preliminary, of course. I hopefully will be able to continue my studies further in the future. But essentially, I surmise that there is some connection in the way that magic users consume objects in the casting of spells that has to do with some kind of bargain, I think. It is initially an exchange, is it not? Something for something else. A cause for a reaction. And so I believe that there is some underlying magical rule that exists governing the consumption of magical components.
But of course, I'm curious in terms of like you're extracting from nature, but it seems that the bargain appears uneven. Like you can amplify such a small object into great magical potential. Was that there the whole time, or is it the caster itself that's amplifying it?
I have several hypotheses on this, but the most prominent one is that components are of the land, whether we like it or not, and it seems almost druidic in a certain sense, but I believe that the components are tied to the fabric of the material plane, and therefore by sacrificing materialization or manifestation, it essentially rewards that user with magic.
So you're making a bargain with nature, and your understanding of what nature can provide, you get rewarded by the fundamental fabric of magic.
I don't think it's a conscious decision made by the caster at all. This is just the laws of magic when we get down to it. I mean, consumable components arise from clerics, wizards, bards.
All with very different understandings and practices.
Yes. You know, you're not so thick after all. And she tussles your ears.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, was that Feng? Was that Feng calling me? And I just walk away
Just
really
dead
fast.
silence.
Oh,
Yeah, Qwig gets over to Feng and he's like, "Oh, hey, buddy, what you doing?"
I just like, I don't know. I just lie against Feng. I don't.
Women!
I'm so confused.
"Oh, that's okay, buddy. I get it."
You've all fallen into an uneasy sleep, Qwig being fully gaslit. As you wake up the next morning, you see a blood-red sun rise, and you pack up and begin your descent further into the bottom of the canyon. Checks today before we set off. Are we getting a motivation in the morning?
Louis in the morning, I think, is going to use her inspiring leader feat to rouse everybody a little bit earlier than we usually would and be like, okay, listen up. We've been traveling for a little while. We're going to get up and limber. I'm going to play some music. Follow me along. We're going to just stretch and reach and move. And we basically do morning aerobics for 10 minutes.
Everyone give me a performance check.
No!
As Holly looks on with disgust, and the professor is fascinated. As a professor of anthropology, she is looking on with, like, such intrigue.
Feng is just complaining the whole time, being like, I don't really like cardio.
If Qwig rolls poorly on this, it's because he's embarrassed.
Yeah.
Holly's not interested.
I'm ready to roll terribly on this.
I rolled a natural one.
Oh my god.
So I start moving along, and then I see Holly looking at the thing, and I just go, I really tense up. I'm not moving very well. I'm like, I want to show that I'm not interested in doing this, but I'm getting no benefit out of it.
Yes, with that Nat 1 Qwig, you try and do a really advanced aerobics move that Louis has taken nearly a century to master. And you're also, like, as you do, you shoot a half look at Holly and twang your neck.
No.
And your perception checks will be made with disadvantage. And I feel like Qwig, embarrassing, limps off.
Oh no, I'm alright. I think I need to do my own limbering up.
Does he still get the 6 temporary HP?
Yeah.
You have 6 temporary hit points.
Thank you so much.
Everyone else roll.
Feng got a 17.
Nice.
Lysandra got a 4.
So 4's still not a 1. Lysandra is so anxious in this hostile environment that she refuses to take her armor off for aerobics. It's very clunkily moving around.
Very loud.
Surprisingly for Feng's size, and you would assume someone who's over 7 foot tall would just be riddled with scoliosis, but he's quite limber.
You're moving really well.
That's very impressive, Feng.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so we've had our inspiring leader.
Everybody gets 6 temporary hit points.
Thanks.
Are we using a motivation roll?
Yes, I will on the first one.
Okay, alright. Feng, let's give our survival check.
Let's do it. That is a 25 survival.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Okay.
Does that make up for the nat 1, day 1?
Yeah, do we use half rations?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so nice.
Yes, so you'll all use your 1 ration for today.
Yay!
Finally, and to the great relief of Cecilia, who has lamented the pressure of the cart on her haunches, the trail levels out as you reach the bottom of Sidewinder Canyon. Unlike Udrud Gorge, this canyon is open wide to the elements and the sun. Given the topography, the natural curvature of the canyon walls concentrates the baking midday sun as you trundle along the sandy creek bed. You hear the crackling of cicadas like stock whips and the occasional cascade of rubble far above. Despite the desolate nature of the place, you cannot help overcome the nagging feeling of being watched. Can we get a D4 roll, please?
A 1.
A 1.
Is that good or bad?
As you continue through the hot midday sun, the professor starts to explain some more things to you. She tells about how the Sidewinder Canyon is one of the oldest formations in Nua, existing even before the great basalt spire of Feldspar rose from the waves. She goes on to talk about ancient Wood Elf manuscripts, which mention the Sidewinder Canyon as a god or deity, revered as the culmination of rivers and estuaries of the east forming into one. Soon, the floor of the canyon widens out. Scout, can I get a perception check, please, as you move forward?
Gotcha.
With disadvantage, because you
Of course.
did bad at aerobics.
So that's a 5.
5. Soon the floor of the canyon widens out to a space the size of a large arena. The sounds of iron striking stone, wood being cleaved into, and the bleating of mantelopes reach your ears. Feng, you feel Cecilia perking up beside you, and her flapping kind of quickens as she starts to call out to these mantelopes. You're not able to discern what it is with that perception check, but soon as you turn a corner in the canyon, you see the site of a massive mining complex, carved into the side of the canyon like a massive gaping wound. Workers of every shape and colour dart around like termites on a massive mound. As you get closer, you see some of the workers preparing huge pallets of heavy iron boxes. Runes and glyphs are placed around the outside, and the workers handle them with care, lifting them onto the stacks. Huge armoured guards, their suits hissing and whirring, oversee this process. Just before this spectacle, you see a modest shade awning bedecked with the insignia of the Pensioned Prospecting Company.
Of course.
Beneath the awning, you see a woman. She has olive skin and striking green eyes with thick black hair tied up in a tight bun. Over the table in front of her are sprawled countless spreadsheets, schedules, trading tables, and quotas. She busies herself until you are right outside, before shooting you a tentative smile. Morning, she addresses you all. Just passing through?
Yeah, Qwig steps up because he's at the front. Yeah, we're just passing through. We're on a research expedition.
You see she cocks her eye at that and says, research expedition, you say.
Yeah. Aye. We are.
You see, as you stop the convoy, the professor jumps out from the back and looks to see the overseer and says, Raycard, so lovely to see you. Still profitable, I see. You see the expression of the overseer softens for a little bit, and she says, well, I keep these tables in the green and I get to stay out here. Isn't it lovely? And she rolls her eyes very slowly.
Oh, you two know each other.
You see the professor laughs and says, well, yes, only by common acquaintance. Reka here is one of the administrators at the Pension Prospecting Company, and we've just been in similar circles, haven't we, Reka, in the Jarl's Castle? Reka smiles and says, yes, well, where would the company be without me? And she gestures to all these workers packing these very, very heavy-duty crates.
And you said their armor was whirring and hissing in the description?
Yes.
Is it mechanical armor?
Yes, so it does appear to be these kind of almost mechanical, piloted, suited armor. And you see that they have similar maker's mark on them to the boring machine that you saw the day before.
I immediately, kind of look past her and ignore what was previously being talked about. She's just told us to look at it, but I say, what's the power source of their armor?
Oh, very interesting. Ooh. That is actually such a good question. I need you to make an insight check against her deception check. Okay. She rolled a 9.
I got a 15.
You see a breeze passes through the tent and the papers begin to fly out. She quickly grabs them, shoots you a fervent look and says, well, aren't you bold asking about company secrets?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean, I was just fascinated. I haven't seen any equipment like that before.
Yes, well, we like to keep it that way. These are prototypes from Cape Rin, just new. You can see that they are piloted inside by some unsuspecting goblin, I suppose. But yes, I'm sure you can understand that giving out secrets of our security details and what they run on might not be the best.
Oh, of course. I didn't mean to offend or do that. Or yeah, I look back at the professor like, help me.
She steps forward. She's like, what my assistant is trying to say, says the professor, is that we are fascinated in the leaps and bounds in technology the company is making.
Of course, yeah.
You see the overseer cocks an eye and says, well, yes, profit margins have been great, and so we are able to invest more in research and development, and it is providing dividends out here on the frontier.
Just above the conversation, the paperwork that you found was there something with the Jarl Scruff with the mining and stuff like that?
Yeah, he asked me to infiltrate something, didn't he?
Yes. Louis, you remember that he'd asked you to help about a warehouse that apparently had been hiding stolen goods. There are some spreadsheets here.
Okay, can I try and take a look at some of these spreadsheets?
You're going to try and, I'm going to say, give you the option you can try and take one. But she's not going to let you look at the spreadsheets.
No, okay,
she's standing over them.
Yeah, okay. Louis is thinking about what the Jarl asked in terms of the warehouse that was supposedly hiding stolen goods and seeing kind of how protective this person is of company secrets. Just wants to try and, like, as that gust of wind is passing through, try to grab or one of the papers or something.
Give me a roll.
Oh, God, be nice to me. So that's an 11, but I have the lucky feat, so I'm going to use a luck point.
Yeah.
Right.
I finally remembered I have that, so I'm going to use...
Wait, this whole time you've had...
Yes, this whole time.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so good at this game. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Please be nice. That's a natural 20.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that moment of confusion? Like, you know how grandmas move so slowly and then just out of left pocket, they'll just like snatch something out of the air or snatch something close to them, whether it's a grandchild's cheek, like they'll just get in there and they can be really fast when they want to. In all the commotion, you only see the flash of jewelry and the crunch of paper as Louis, you pocket, I'm going to say with a nat 20, you pocket 3 documents that you will get to look at later.
Hell yeah.
So good.
Listen, grandmas, they are 97% of the act of being, like, old and grumpy is that, an act.
It's lying in wait.
Yes, exactly.
And with that surprising victory and remembering of a thief, that is where we will end our session.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, better than that 110 session.
Oh.
I think, what was that, 2 sessions ago?
Yeah.
2 episodes ago.
We started the adventure with the nat 1. We finished the adventure for today's episode with the nat 20.
Listen, we're building up.
We
We're
are.
building upwards, people.
Following the trend.
All right, gang. Any selfless plugs for today?
Yeah, I've got one for this week. So my selfless plug today is for a Melbourne content creator called Mike's Mike. I don't know if any of you have watched their content before, but it is edited and produced so well. Not only is the content just so funny, I just want to give them a special shout out for the concepts of their videos on YouTube because they are so fucking intelligent, so well thought out, so planned, and they deserve every subscriber, every follower they get. If you're a fan of like cult classic TV shows like Lost, Gossip Girl, Pretty Little Liars, I absolutely recommend going and watching their unhinged recaps of shows. I die of laughter every time.
I love that so much.
I will never get over when they had to move apartments and take down the Gossip Girl red string wall and had to work out a way to pack it all up and take it to the next apartment.
Oh no.
And then the minion stickers that got stuck on the extraction hood.
Yes.
Oh dear. All right. Well, as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at DownUnderDungeonPod. Like, comment, and tag us in any of your fan art. Also, please feel free to give us a 5-star rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
See you then.
See you next week.
Bye.